In March 2022, former President Donald Trump filed a sweeping lawsuit that made national headlines, sending shockwaves through the political world and reigniting fierce debate across the country. He targeted a long list of high-profile figures, including Hillary Clinton, the Democratic National Committee, former FBI Director James Comey, and several others who had played prominent roles in the events surrounding the 2016 election. Trump's lawsuit accused them of orchestrating an elaborate conspiracy to falsely link his 2016 presidential campaign to Russian interference, alleging a coordinated effort to undermine his legitimacy as a candidate and as president. According to Trump, this narrative was not just a misunderstanding or a difference of opinion, it was a deliberate fabrication, carefully constructed to inflict maximum political and personal damage on him and his allies. The lawsuit demanded at least $24 million in damages, a staggering sum. But for Trump, the financial compensation was only part of the story. What he truly sought was vindication, a legal declaration that he had been the victim of a grand and malicious plot. Through this legal action, Trump aimed to recast the entire Russia investigation as a baseless attack, arguing that it was never a legitimate inquiry, but rather a weapon wielded by his political enemies. The lawsuit set the stage for a dramatic confrontation, one that pitted a former president against some of the most powerful political and law enforcement figures in recent American history, all under the intense scrutiny of the public eye. At the heart of the case was a pivotal question. Did Trump's claims have genuine legal merit, or were they simply another chapter in the ongoing saga of political theater that has defined recent years? The answer would ultimately come from a federal judge in Florida, whose decision would carry significant consequences, not just for Trump, but for the credibility of the American legal system itself. With both sides preparing for a high-stakes legal showdown, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation and uncertainty. As the nation watched, the courtroom became the new battleground in a conflict that had already shaped the course of American politics, and its outcome would be closely watched by millions. At the heart of Trump's lawsuit was a RICO claim, an accusation more commonly reserved for taking down organized crime syndicates and mafia bosses, not political opponents. The use of RICO in this context was both dramatic and unprecedented, signaling just how high the stakes had become. Trump alleged that Hillary Clinton, the Democratic National Committee, and a host of other political figures and operatives had come together to form what he called a criminal enterprise. Their goal, according to the lawsuit, was to rig the 2016 election by orchestrating a campaign of misinformation, spreading false stories of Russian collusion to undermine his candidacy and presidency. The lawsuit painted a picture of a sprawling, interconnected conspiracy. It referenced opposition research, the infamous Steele dossier, and a series of calculated leaks to both the media and the FBI. Each element, Trump's team argued, was a deliberate move in a much larger scheme. Trump's lawyers insisted that every action, from the initial funding of opposition research to the public statements made by political operatives, was not random, but part of a carefully coordinated plan to destroy his campaign and reputation. They argued that these were not isolated incidents, but steps in a calculated effort to sway public opinion and influence the outcome of the election. Nearly 30 defendants were named in the sweeping complaint, which spanned hundreds of pages. The document itself read more like a political thriller than a traditional legal filing, filled with dramatic allegations and intricate connections. The case ultimately rested on a crucial question. Would the court interpret these events as evidence of a criminal enterprise, or simply as the rough-and-tumble reality of American politics, where hardball tactics are nothing new? By invoking RICO, Trump dramatically raised the stakes, alleging not just defamation or dirty tricks, but a sustained pattern of criminal behavior that, if proven, could have far-reaching consequences for everyone involved. He claimed that as a result of this alleged conspiracy, he suffered immense financial losses and irreparable harm to his reputation, both as a businessman and as a political figure. The court's job was to cut through the drama, the headlines, and the political theater, and focus solely on the legal facts and evidence presented. Was this truly a criminal conspiracy that threatened the integrity of American democracy, or just another example of politics as usual, where accusations and counter-accusations are part of the game? The answer to that question would not only shape the outcome of this case, but could also set a precedent for how future political battles are fought in the courtroom. The lawsuit landed before U.S. District Judge Donald Middlebrooks, a seasoned jurist known for his no-nonsense approach and deep experience with complex cases. Without hesitation, Judge Middlebrooks swiftly dismissed the case in September 2022, making it clear that the lawsuit would not proceed any further in his courtroom. He described the filing as a classic example of a shotgun pleading, a document so sprawling and disorganized that it was nearly impossible to decipher which claims were being made against which defendants. According to the judge, the lawsuit read more like a political manifesto than a legitimate legal argument, packed with implausible allegations and riddled with fundamental structural flaws. Many of the events and accusations referenced in the complaint were not only unsubstantiated, but also dated back several years, well beyond the statute of limitations for such claims. Judge Middlebrooks found the case to be unsupported by both facts and law, and even went so far as to suggest that some of the claims appeared to be built on outright falsehoods or deliberate misrepresentations. In his scathing opinion, he concluded that the lawsuit had been filed in bad faith, with the primary goal of harassing political opponents rather than genuinely seeking justice through the courts. This harsh assessment opened the door for the imposition of financial penalties against Trump and his legal team, sending a clear warning about the consequences of abusing the legal process. The dismissal was a major blow, signaling that the federal courts would not be used as a battleground to refight political disputes or settle personal vendettas. Judge Middlebrooks made it clear that these grievances belonged in the arena of public debate, not in the federal court system, which is reserved for genuine legal controversies. With this decision, the tone was set for what would follow: serious consequences for those who attempt to weaponize the legal system for political gain. Trump's legal gambit had failed at the very first hurdle, leaving his team to face the fallout of a resounding judicial rebuke. The courtroom, Judge Middlebrooks made clear, would not serve as a stage for political vendettas or baseless legal theatrics. A frivolous lawsuit is one with no real chance of success, lacking factual or legal basis. Courts reject cases that are nonsensical, based on falsehoods, or filed to harass or delay. In Trump's case, the judge found the legal theories fundamentally flawed, like arguing the statute of limitations should pause for a president, an idea already rejected by the Supreme Court. The complaint was filled with speculation, not concrete evidence of a conspiracy. Courts require plausible facts, not just suspicion or political drama. Judge Middlebrooks concluded Trump's lawsuit failed this basic standard. He saw it as a tool for political retribution, not a genuine legal dispute. The sprawling, unfocused complaint and baseless arguments made it a textbook frivolous lawsuit. Filing in bad faith, using the courts for improper purposes, was a key reason for the harsh response. The legal system demands more than political storytelling. This case crossed the line. After dismissing the case, Judge Middlebrooks imposed nearly $1 million in sanctions on Trump and his lead attorney, Alina Habba. The penalty reimbursed defendants like Clinton and Comey for legal fees forced by a baseless lawsuit. This sanction was a direct message: misuse the courts, and you'll pay. The judge cited a pattern of Trump using litigation as a political weapon, not for genuine legal redress. Lawyers have a duty not to file meritless cases. Here, that duty was ignored. Both Trump and Habba were held personally responsible, reinforcing that attorneys serve the legal system first. An additional $50,000 penalty was imposed for false claims about a defendant, the total over $1 million in consequences. The message was clear: courts are for justice, not political score settling. The ruling was a stern warning to all who might abuse the system. The financial blow was matched by a powerful rebuke. The legal system had drawn a line. Trump and his team appealed, arguing the dismissal and sanctions were unfair and the judge was biased. They took their case to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, hoping for a reversal. Their arguments repeated old points. The RICO claims were valid, the statute of limitations shouldn't apply, and the Durham report was new evidence. The Durham report criticized the FBI's Russia probe, but didn't fix the lawsuit's legal flaws. Defendants urged the appeals court to uphold the dismissal and sanctions, calling the case frivolous and time-barred. The three-judge panel reviewed the case, weighing whether the lower court had erred. The stakes: a win would revive Trump's lawsuit and erase the penalty. A loss would cement the defeat. The appeals court would decide if the legal system had been abused. Trump's legal strategy was on trial as much as the original claims. The outcome would have lasting consequences for all involved. The courtroom drama continued, but the odds were long. The legal reckoning was far from over. On November 26, 2025, the 11th Circuit delivered a decisive defeat for Trump. The court upheld the dismissal and the $1 million sanction, agreeing the lawsuit was doomed from the start. The statute of limitations had expired, and presidential tolling was flatly rejected. The court called the complaint a shotgun pleading filed in bad faith, designed to harass political opponents. The Durham report didn't provide new facts or fix the core legal problems. Trump's legal team also failed to properly challenge key rulings, further weakening their case. Only a minor technical correction was made, with no impact on the outcome. The final decision: the lawsuit was frivolous, filed in bad faith, and the penalty was justified. The appeals court reinforced the lower court's harsh assessment. The legal defeat was now definitive. The heavy penalty wasn't just about this lawsuit, it reflected a broader pattern. Judge Middlebrooks and the appeals court saw Trump's case as part of a series of politically motivated lawsuits. Trump's history of litigation, often dismissed, showed a strategy of using courts to intimidate or silence critics. This tactic, known as a slap suit, can chill free speech and public debate. The courts aim to deter this pattern, not just compensate defendants. The $1 million sanction was a warning: the judiciary won't tolerate abuse. Accountability extends beyond one case to the intent and history behind it. By holding Trump and his lawyer personally responsible, the courts reinforce that everyone must play by the same rules. Lawsuits must be filed in good faith, not as political weapons. The ruling was a broader condemnation of weaponized litigation. The final ruling in the Clinton and Comey lawsuit is a powerful reminder of the court's role in democracy. The judicial system is for resolving real disputes, not political theater or personal vendettas. Frivolous lawsuits waste resources and burden the innocent. This case became a clear example of the judiciary pushing back against abuse. The $1 million penalty is both a financial and professional rebuke. It warns lawyers and clients alike. The courts are not tools for political warfare. The public benefits when rules against frivolous litigation are enforced. The decision upholds the boundary between law and politics. In America, no one is above the law or allowed to abuse it without consequence.